Welcome in. This is Hype Factor, a Fantasy Critic podcast for all the Fantasy Critic enthusiasts out there who just can't get enough talking about Fantasy Critic. I'm one of your co-hosts, John32, and I am joined by my good friend Marcus. What is up, my friend?
John, I just finished Mixtape a couple of days ago, and I loved it. And I don't care what anybody else says, because I loved it.
I am with you. I also finished it a few days ago, and I loved it. I'm geeking out about this game.
Yeah.
I love this experience. I want everybody to have the same experience. I'm going to make people that don't play games experience it. And if you don't like it, well, it's not for you.
That's right. Yeah.
It's not for you. It's fine. It doesn't have to be for you. So, yeah, shut up about it. This is episode 21 of Hype Factor. We are talking sequels today. No, not that sequel. Everybody's thinking we're talking about that fuzzy fox-haired sequel. No, not that one. We'll get into that a little later. We're gonna talk about exploring sequels, how often direct sequels live up to the hype of the original. And I think that's going to be a really interesting topic where you've brought a lot of, I think, analysis to that subject, which I know you've done in the past, Marcus, with DLC and other things. So we're going to really sink our teeth into that a little bit today. But first, I think we've talked about this. This is probably a good time for you to give the listeners an update on Critics Royale, which famously we talked about with Dan last year, some months ago now. But you joined Critics Royale, and now you're into your second, I don't know what you would call it, quarter season?
I think they go quarter.
You would term it.
Quarter, yeah.
Quarter?
Yeah.
So why don't you give us a rundown of what your experience has been like and what your team and then, how you're doing in that there league.
Yeah. So in full disclosure, we probably should have done this in our last episode with Matt, but we kind of forgot. So we figured better late than never, right? So anyways, so yes, I played my first time. Dan convinced me. I jumped in at the start of the year to do Critics Royale, and it went okay. I was still kind of like learning the ropes here, but I wanted to just pull up my roster here. So just give me a moment to find it. So in quarter one, Derek won again. I guess Derek is, we were learning. I think that Dan had mentioned him that he has won this many times, and he managed to pull it out again. So I guess that's kind of the guy that we're all gunning for. I finished 40th in the first quarter out of just over 400 people. So top 10%, I'll take it. So I wanted to quickly run down my roster. Maybe as a quick reminder, if people want to kind of learn a little bit more about Critics Royale, as John mentioned, we had Dan from Canada on last fall, and he kind of went through all the details. But basically, you're building a roster of games that are coming out in that quarter. So in a given 3-month period. So for the first quarter from between January 1 and March 31st. And you have $100 budget like you do with your regular fantasy bidding process. And games have certain dollar values that you can add to your team. Obviously, the bigger budget, more sure thing games have a higher dollar value. So you can only add so many of those kind of like, I don't know, like Resident Evil Requiems and Sorrows to your team if you want to have a full roster. I think the minimum, the lowest priced game can be is $2. So you have to make sure you have enough, if you want to have a full roster, at least have $2 left to get every game. There's also something that they have called an advertising budget, which that first quarter I wasn't really sure how I should allocate some dollars, because you're using the same $100 to allocate towards any of the games. And basically it would just, the amount of advertising dollars that you put on a particular game, if you want to, you don't have to, it will just end up giving you an extra score towards the end. So if I, as an example, I had bid on a game, added a game that ended up scoring an 80, and I put an extra $1 advertising budget, I think that gives me 8 instead of 10 points. It gives me 11. I'm pretty sure that's the scoring. That's how it works. It gives you a few more points if you allocate. But of course, if you're allocating a bunch of advertising dollars, then you don't have as many dollars to actually bid and add games to your team.
Yeah.
So that's the
Right.
general gist, right? You're building your roster. So I got 15 games. I ended up with only two games that didn't get a score. Perfect Tides, Station to Station, didn't get a score, didn't get enough reviews, at least at the time of the season. And then Rubato, which is another game that I was kind of keen on. I'm still keen to play it a bit at some point, but that didn't get, I'm not sure that it got any reviews. So I have Cassette Boy. I had Mio Memories in Orbit. TR49 I added. I got the Cult of the Lamb DLC. Cairn. My big spend was Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. I picked up Relooted, Demon Tides, which was a good scoring game for me, Planet of Lana 2, Damon and Baby, which was not good. That was my lowest scoring game, 67.5 it got. I picked up Screamer, Racoin, and Aether and Iron. So it ended up with, I don't know, a handful of games that got me over 10 points. I think, what was my total? Doesn't show. Oh, here it is, 134 points. So again, good enough for 40th overall. Not too bad. It was a good experience to kind of like to start with.
And I like almost like, people a lot of times they feel like they're locked in at the start of the season with the drafts that they've made. This kind of like lets you refresh every quarter, which is kind of nice, and you kind of know, for a certain extent, what the games are that you're playing with in that 3-month period. Very interesting, very cool.
Yeah.
And what's the second quarter looking like? Are you doing all right? What's your outlook right now?
So second quarter is pretty similar, I would say. I'm sitting currently in 18th place, but there's a lot fewer players. I think there's only about 150 or 155, something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
And right now, one thing I kind of made a mistake when I was adding games. I wanted to try to see what would happen by adding Forza, which is one of the most expensive, Forza Horizon, one of the most expensive games to purchase. And I think I misread how much budget I would have left after I added it. I think it showed the total before I had bid it, and I thought it was like after I had already added it. So anyways, I only ended up being able to add 14 games. I don't have all full 15 on my roster, but I did end up getting Forza Horizon, which, like, as of today,
like
the reviews, it's almost, but I ended up spending a lot of money on it. I did put like the maximum advertising budget as well. So it basically, I've got like a third of my budget wrapped in Forza Horizon 6. So at least it's performed, right? Right as of today, it's sitting at a 91. But the other games that I grabbed, I got Gecko Gods. I've got Saint Slayer, Vampire Crawlers, which I also maxed out the advertising budget on. If listeners will recall, I was pretty keen on it being a very well scoring game. Did kind of underperformed where I thought it might, but still did okay. I got Titanium Court. I got Moomin Troll. I picked up Invincible Versus, which has done okay because it was only a $2 game. I don't think anybody was that high on it. It's at a 78, so not too bad. I got Inconbini. I picked up Forbidden Solitaire, John, and this one doesn't have a score yet. I'm hoping something will come in very, very soon because the few reviews that it does have to this point are basically like perfect scores. So I think we're just waiting for maybe one more top critic to review this. So fingers crossed on that one.
Does Derek also have that?
I'll have to check. Probably, right? Or maybe he's smart enough to know that it was not unlikely to get a score. I also got Wax Heads, which scored really well.
Nice.
I picked up Motor Slice, which we talked about last week with Matt. Forza Horizon 6. And then I've got 3 more games that have yet to come out. They're hidden, but for anybody listening, it doesn't really matter that much. I've got Phonopolis.
I mean, you don't have to share it.
I don't mind. I mean, what's going to matter? Like, I don't really know why it makes that much of a difference.
Anybody that's keeping pace with you could use it to their advantage.
I guess maybe, yeah. There's got to be a reason. Anyway,
if I was 17th, I would use it to make sure I finished ahead of you.
How?
Marcus, so. Just by picking up the same games. It's very unlikely that someone's good.
So my 3 are Phonopolis, which is coming out in just over a week, I think, or just under a week at this point.
The 20th, so they won't be able to pick it up anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. I think it's
I guess I
within
don't know.
a
No,
few
maybe I guess
days,
it
as
would
long
be
as it
still.
doesn't have a review or
Yeah,
something.
this is a score.
Yeah. Bubsy 4D I grabbed. Again, that was only a $2 game, so
Risky, but
risky.
could pay
Same
off.
developer as Demon Tides,
Mm-hmm.
though. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then I've got the remake of The End of the Greatest RPG of All Time.
Okay. So yeah, not a bad lineup.
It's okay. So I'm curious to see how many of the people, because I haven't gone through everybody that's ahead of me, how many of them might have
Mm-hmm.
Forza Horizon 6, and like how much kind
Mm-hmm.
of having that on my team plus putting the maximum advertising, how much that jumps me up in the rankings. There's a decent amount of games that are still to come out in May that could score well, let alone, I don't know if there's a heck of a lot that we have on schedule for June, but I'm not sure those tend to be the types of games that the people at the top of the leaderboard tend to have. So like, I'm thinking of like James Bond or even the Batman, the Lego Batman
Lego
game.
Batman.
What else is coming out? We'll talk about it later. But anyways, those don't tend to be the ones that the people at the top have on their rosters. So
Right.
I have a feel. I'm definitely going to finish. I'm confident I'll finish higher than 40th, but it'd be nice to be in a little bit higher than the top 10%.
In contention.
Yeah.
Yeah, in contention.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, for those listening, like to me it does really, like, the comparable to me is like daily fantasy football. Like if anybody's played, fantasy football and then or tried their hand at daily fantasy sports where you're not sticking with a team from start to finish of the season. You have a budget that you're constructing a team to just do the best you can on any given Sunday or any given weekend. Very similar. I love the kind of nuance that it provides, especially with the advertising budget. So
Yeah,
sounds like you're having fun.
it's been good.
Sounds
And
like it's
if one of these games, like, it doesn't really help me because I spent so little on the remaining games that I have. But if one of those games happened to get pushed out of the quarter,
yeah.
you can sell it,
Hmm.
but you only get,
Okay.
I think it's 3/4 of what you paid for it back.
Not bad.
It's
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
but if I only,
Mhm.
I basically I've spent like $99.70 or something. Like I have nothing left basically. So if I sell a $2 game and the minimum game price is $2,
Yeah.
I'm not going to have even enough
Doesn't help you.
to even add anything at
Yeah.
$2. So it doesn't really affect me for this particular situation, but I did do that for a couple of games right at the end, like in March of the first quarter. Like it was like, oh, it got pushed. Let's get rid of it. I think Coffee Talk got pushed. I had paid a little for that, and so then you're kind of scrambling because there's not a ton left to add that late in the quarter. That's going to be within your budget, but you do have a little bit of flexibility. So yeah, I guess the reason that I mentioned it is because it's not like you just do this thing and you set it and forget it and then you just see how check back in at the end of the quarter. There is a bit of like management that you can do and engage with over the course of the 3-month period, right?
Pretty good. No, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, you'll have to come like after the next quarter. You'll have to give an update on how that went.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You'll do a regular segment.
Yeah.
Critics Royale update.
That's right.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. We've been waiting to do like a nice update on Critics Royale, so I'm glad we got to do it now.
Mm-hmm.
So without further ado, let's get into the topic of the month.
Topic of the month.
So sequels. And specifically, I guess what we're going to be talking about today is second entries. So we're not just talking about any sequels. We are talking about direct sequels, that second entry into a series potentially, or second entry ever, for a particular franchise or IP. Which I think the reason we wanted to look at it is, unlike a series where you have a larger sample size that's been around a long time, direct sequels are somewhat based on the hype of the original, right? That may have been a little bit innovative. I always think about this more when I'm thinking about like movies and TV shows where, something original brings a lot of hype because of it's doing something different. But then the moment you try and do a follow up, it's like, well, it's no longer original because it's just a follow up. So I think one of the things we want to do is either reinforce or dispel the myths around second entries and really understand, you know, are they as sure bet as people treat them like they are in Fantasy Critic? You know, I think people really put a premium on the sequels into an entry. So, Marcus, do you want to? You've done a lot of work here. Do you want to give everybody a kind of rundown of, you know, what your process was and like what some of the main findings were?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like really, I think you've kind of summarized it nicely, but I always looked at sequels as a like that's what you want on your roster. This is safe. This is,
Mhm.
excellent points. But, we've done some of these things in the past and thought things were pretty safe. I kind of always go back to the DLC, and it wasn't really the case. So I was fairly confident that it wasn't going to be quite as negative as what often DLC can be, but I still wanted to take a look at the numbers. So what I did is I went through the Fantasy Critic website and basically went all the way back to 2022 and scrolled through to try to identify any game that was a sequel. I'm not going to say that this list is fully exhaustive because there's definitely it's a possibility that I might have missed something, but it's pretty comprehensive. I was able to identify 55 games, since 2022 that were direct sequels to an original game. And the original game could have come out whenever. I removed sequels that the original didn't have a score to be able to compare it to. There were a couple. The one example I'm thinking of is Soul Hackers 2. The original was like 1997 and it doesn't even have a Metacritic score. There were a few games that I did have to go back and get because there wasn't a score in OpenCritic, so I did use Metacritic as kind of the only kind of source of data for the original score. That only happened a handful of times. And I don't know if we maybe would get into the results. That's kind of the process. It's kind of, and then I, put it all into a spreadsheet, and we took a look and checked out where the scores fell. And I think, like, I don't know, spoiler. I think that sequels tended to hold the pattern that we expected them to. They tend to perform pretty good, um,
Yeah.
relative to the original game. And I've kind of identified a few stats, I guess, to kind of help illustrate that. I don't know. Do you want me to just go through these stats now, or
Yeah.
do you have any questions kind of to
No,
get me
I,
going
I
here?
was gonna, I was gonna, you know, pinpoint on the some of the outliers. Like, there definitely like seems like from everything you've pulled together that the sequel, a direct sequel, is still a probably safer bet than a lot of other options out there, which is why people gravitate to them so hard in the draft and even throughout the year. But it is pretty clear that it's not like a sure thing,
It's not a
right? I think it's like
sure thing. I
you,
mean, I guess
yeah,
like
there's still some like a critical thought that people need to put behind, you know, what they're looking at here and kind of how they're approaching it. So yeah, why don't you start with the stats? Because I think that's a really interesting set of conclusions, and that'll like inform some of these other pieces.
sure. So I found that when we took a look at the original score, took a look at the Open Critic score for the sequel, almost half, 47% of the games fell either plus or minus 2 points of the original. Sequels fell plus or minus 2 points. That means that just over half did not. But it looked like when you look at the numbers, more sequels outperform the original than don't by a margin of 2 to 1. So like 2/3
Hmm.
of the games that are sequels score at, equal to, or above the
Right.
original. Only 1/3 go below. So that to me, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah. So as a percentage, like as a percentage, that's a huge range of like, uh, in my mind, you almost like setting a bit of a floor.
Yeah.
Oh, a pretty, you know, high proportion, high percentage floor if you're picking up a sequel, like based on what the original scored. Like you kind of know, like you're probably in that range, plus or minus two, and
Yep.
with a decent shot of
It
outperforming, right? Like
yeah, it
that's, you
being
know,
hot on the higher side.
higher end. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 to 1 is going to be higher than lower. And then I wanted to take a look at kind of the outliers, like how often does the sequel either outperform or underperform the original by a lot? And by, I defined a lot by 5 or more points. And so sequels outperform the original by 5 or more points about 20% of the time. So 1 out of every 5.
Mhm.
And they underperform 13% of the time. So maybe 1 out of every
Um,
6. So less, but
that's not sure,
it's not
but that's
nothing.
also it's not nothing.
Yeah.
Those are kind of the ones that I was actually a little bit surprised by and kind of like leaned onto this. Like
Yeah.
that's where I was like, I know it's only 13%.
Yeah.
But 13% is like higher than 110 of everybody that's picking up these sequels. Somebody's going to get a clunker, right?
Yep.
Like that's not that's the part that set me off. So maybe we'll pause there. What do you want to talk about some of these outliers? Like to me, some of these that you've highlighted here are interesting, and maybe not that surprising. People probably have some in their minds that they're already thinking of.
Yeah.
um, Maybe we'll just flag some of them. I mean, this is one that we were just talking about. Demon Turf and Demon Tides was one that you had flagged as a pretty big swing in terms of points from the original to the direct sequel, and that was
Yep.
just this year. Um, a massive jump for that particular
Massive
game.
jump. Yeah, that one went up 12 points from the original to the sequel. There's only 3 games out of the 55 that I identified, and really only 2 that are relevant. I'll say,
Okay.
the third one why. Um,
Mhm.
and probably we can. I'm sure maybe there are listeners kind of like yelling right now. That other one, in addition to Demon Tides, is, say it with me, John, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that one outperformed the original by 17 points. Um,
yeah.
that third one that I said is not really relevant is back in 2022, little title called Hello Neighbor. Hello Neighbor 2 came out. The original
Okay.
Hello Neighbor was a 42, and Hello Neighbor 2 got a 54. So it went up by 12, but still only a 54. So I don't
Still,
think probably
that
a
doesn't
lot of
help
people were,
anybody. Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people were
Yeah.
drafting that one either. So
I guess with some of these, I mean, I don't know if you want to go through some of the other outliers. I mean, did you notice any trends of like what might have been like driving either the positive or the negative? Like sometimes, obviously, you're trying to predict. Was there any kind of standouts
I
that
think that
caught your eye?
I do think that the bigger AAA stuff, you think of like the Spider-Man 2s, the God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, those ones are basically just sure bets. Like they do
Yeah,
not miss, and they don't drop either. They don't drop more than
yeah, they're just
one,
kind
or
of
they're right
yeah,
there. Um,
yeah. They
I
start high and they probably just move up or down by a
they're
small
within those
margin.
1 or 2 points.
Yeah,
Like they do
yeah,
not move. And so the examples of the ones that tend to drop that 5 or more, those tend
hmm
to be smaller games. They tend to be.
hmm or like it looks like a lot of like double A games as well.
Yeah, so like we're
Like
talking
that double
Stalker
A.
2, we're talking
Yeah.
Planet Coaster 2.
hmm
The original Planet Coaster was an 84. Planet Coaster 2 is a 78, so that dropped 6 points. Greedfall 2. The original was only a 74, but the sequel went down to 66. What else do we have here?
City Skylines I see here
City
with a pretty
Skylines
decent
2.
drop.
The original was 83. It dropped to a sequel dropped to a 70,
Yeah,
75.
because I would have thought that like more the indie space would have been the more volatile of this group. It doesn't seem like actually like indie sequels, when people hit that kind of special indie sauce that creates this like groundswell, the actual follow-up seem to be relatively good or stable or an increase on where they were in
Yeah.
that same kind of vein. It's more this like double A
It
middle
it's a
group
good
that
point.
seems to be way more volatile.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it like I'm what could we think of as more the indie sequel? Like Talos Principle 2,
Yeah.
that did really well.
Well, just
Blasphemous
this year
2,
we had Citizen Sleeper,
Citizen
we had
Sleeper 2.
Tales of Iron,
Yep.
and so I see World of Goo, although that's not really a sequel. Monster Train, I don't know if Monster Train's considered an indie, but
Sure it is. Yeah.
that's another
Yep.
that's another one where like it just seems like yeah, that would have been the ones where I would have thought we would have seen a little bit more fluctuation. But even with something like Grime that you have there,
Hmm.
yeah, just like right on the nose, exactly where it kind of was
Yeah.
originally.
Rogue Legacy
So,
2 is a good example as well, I think
hmm
of. Um,
hmm
so yeah, I mean, and the last kind of statistic I think that I wanted to bring out, and we've kind of danced around or talked about something similar, but like oftentimes if the original game didn't score 80 plus, I'm probably not interested. So I wanted to see how many sequels or what percentage of sequels scored 80 plus if the original scored 80 plus. Because like that, the original is what, the information that we're often making our decision on whether or not to draft or to add a sequel to our team. So if the original scored 80 plus, the sequel is about 80%, just under 80% to score 80 plus. So 4 out of 5 times, if your original got 80 plus, your sequel is going to get 80 plus. That's pretty good odds to me, John. And I
yeah, it's not
think
bad.
it it makes me change my mind about a game or two that is scheduled to come out this year.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll get into that. But read another way, if I were to interpret what you just said, basically you're saying that anybody that actually drafted Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is off the rockers and they just got lucky last year.
They got lucky. I think they got lucky. I mean,
No, they
there
obviously
wasn't the
saw something in
data
that
to
game.
support
Yeah.
them drafting
Yeah.
Kingdom Come Deliverance particularly early. Like there wasn't.
hmm
Uh, that's what we were saying, right? And
I
maybe
know.
I'm just steadfast in
I'm
trying
bitter.
to justify my wrong opinion from
Yeah.
last year, but um, it really is an outlier, especially when you see all
Yeah.
of this stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
this doesn't tend to
Absolutely.
happen.
And but it kind of falls in that in that space that we're just talking about. It's a more volatile space when you're looking at those kind of follow-ups.
Hmm.
So you meant a good point. You made a good point there. Like, how does that affect what you plan to do this year or going forward this year? We do have, it was a timely topic to cover because there are a significant number of direct entry sequels coming in this year. Um, where
Not
should
a
we
lot with
start?
firm dates, at least at this point, but at
No,
least
that's
scheduled
true.
to
I guess,
be
yeah,
be
that's
coming
fair.
this year. So
Yeah, that's true.
going through the list of, I guess, notable games that are at least somewhat likely to be on people's radars that are scheduled to come out this year. I think we've got 8 or 9. So I'll read through them. Control Resonant, Enter the Gungeon 2, Pony Island 2, Lords of the Fallen 2, Warhammer Bolt Gun 2, Toem 2, Mortal Shell 2, and Minecraft Dungeons 2. There's a few there that I dismiss immediately because they're not, the original didn't
Yeah.
score in the 80s, so I'm not interested. Though that being Lords of the Fallen 2, the original scored a 73. We can, I would safely assume that, you know, Lords of the Fallen 2 is probably not going to be in the 80s.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
sim-
and and of this list of those that didn't, I would say that is one that had high expectations when it originally came out.
yeah,
So I'm actually kind of surprised to see a sequel being made. I don't know how that performed commercially, but
yeah,
I'm actually surprised that they decided to follow up. But maybe there was enough people that liked it.
yeah. And then Warhammer Bolt Gun 2, similar story. The original got a 76. Mortal Shell 2, the original got a 76. And one that did have a little bit of hype, we've talked about it earlier this year,
Yep.
Minecraft Dungeons 2, the original got a 74. I would be
Yeah.
avoiding all of those personally.
hmm
And then there are a couple of games. We talked about Control Resonant on our draft episode. I think it might have been one of my locks, or at least I was very high on it. I can't remember exactly where I ended up putting it. If that comes this year, I'm probably higher on it than the average person. But if that comes this year, I think that is a very good bet to do quite well.
Yeah.
Even though the combat's being changed up a little bit, that doesn't worry me at all. The original
Yeah.
scored an 84. I think that
Yeah.
Control Resonant, if it's able to
Of
make
course,
this
86.
year, yeah, I wouldn't be
hmm
shocked. 86,
hmm
87.
hmm
Pony Island 2, we've talked about that one as well. I think if that one comes out this year, the original scored an 85. That's great.
Yeah.
My
That's a
opinion really
lot.
hasn't
hmm
changed on either of those games. But the two that I might value a little bit higher than I did
Mm,
previously are Enter the Gungeon 2, which I think we both talked about when we did our tier rankings, and I was kind of
yeah.
down on it. But the original scored an
Well,
84, John.
they're pretty high. I mean, I listen. I had been really high on Enter the Gungeon 2 early on in the season. I soured or softened on it, maybe partially talking to you, but
Could be
also
me. Yeah.
there. No, I went into the Reddit threads and for Enter the Gungeon 2, there is a significant change. I mean, this is what I was trying to pick up on with some of these outliers. Was there something beyond just like the size of the studio that indicated where like that fluctuation was coming from? Because Enter the Gungeon 2, from everything I could tell, has a very big change with regards to the art style that made it very like beloved from the first one. So they're doing something very different, which is not getting a lot of positive buzz, I guess, at least from the people that loved the first one. That's not to say it won't review well. So I still think though, like you're right, like having the first one at an 84, even if it drops off a bit, it's not a bad place to be,
Yeah.
right? Like I think it's not a bad place to be.
The original came out in 2016. So they've had a lot of
Yeah.
time. I don't know how long they've been working on the sequel, but they've had a lot of
Hmm.
time to they shouldn't be rushed. You wouldn't think, right? Like it you'd like to think that it's not going to come out with a lot of issues. So I don't know. I after kind of doing this and being able to that's probably the one that I would be more open to adding to
Hmm.
my team than I was before because I had
Yeah.
more or less dismissed it because I didn't know much about it. I didn't kind of I guess have all of this data to kind of suggest that the likelihood that that drops out of the 80s is pretty low.
Hmm.
It's pretty low to drop
Yeah.
that much. Because it would have to drop 5 points to get out of the 80s, and that doesn't happen that
Yeah.
often. One out of every six
No.
games, right? And then the other
Yeah.
one is Toem 2, which we were kind of lukewarm to positive on. We definitely weren't saying don't add Toem.
Yeah.
Uh,
I picked it up. I picked it up
oh, did you?
in Division 6 for Champions League. Yep.
Okay, okay.
Yep. In Super League.
So yeah, that that the original was right at an 80, but I don't know. I feel like Toem 2 people talk positively about the
Yeah.
first game and I think that this is one of those 2/3 that is likely to be a little higher, equal to or higher than the original than the third that are a little bit lower. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd probably, if I'm looking to add a game and these happen to be available, I'm at least bumping them a little bit higher up the list of available options for me.
Yeah. And maybe not falling into the Minecraft Dungeons trap that seems to be
Yeah,
set.
I
So
would definitely
yeah.
not be going for Minecraft Dungeons.
No, that's awesome. I really love that breakdown. Like I think it reinforces a lot of what we knew. Like at
Yeah,
least it wasn't the big shocker that the DLC piece was, but I think it also gives you a little bit more to chew on. And even when you're looking like again, the biggest takeaway for me is not even like necessarily like how much time between the two installments or anything like that. It's really almost the size of the studio and how that might play into it a little bit. I mean, I'll have to keep that in the back of my head for some of these things. And famously, I think Tome 2 and Into the Gungeon are both indies, right? So,
yeah,
um, yeah. So, yeah. Thank you, Marcus. That's a lot of work. So, hopefully, people will have to figure out a way to like post this or something and share it on Blue Sky so people can actually like dig into the numbers, or maybe in like the Fantasy Critic Discord or something. We'll have to
something.
figure out
Yeah,
something. Yep. All right. Well, we're going to keep this moving along because we do have a ton of news to talk about. So why don't we do that now?
Let's get into the news.
Okay. So when I was composing these notes over the last number of weeks, the first piece of news was Mixtape had a May 7th release date.
yeah,
It's great.
yeah.
It's coming con. And the news around this game has changed. So it has scored, it started, I would say, quite high.
Quite high. I think it made it
Quite
up to
high.
like 94 at one point.
Yes,
It was
and
insane. Yeah,
and then I think I don't know if the gaming gods, the fantasy critic gods, some sort of deity out there was not pleased that Mixtape was sitting atop the leaderboard for the year. And obviously some, even though it's only a 3 to 4 hour game, it took a whole new set of critics to come in and kind of bring it down to where it is. You
yeah,
can tell I'm bitter. I don't even have this game in Fantasy Critic.
yeah.
I didn't win it in any of the leagues I was in the draft, and I'm still pissed off. I'm pissed off on everybody else's behalf.
Well, it was a
But anyway,
magical moment for me, John, because for a brief moment, I was sitting at the top of, because I have it in Super League, and I was sitting at the top of
okay.
all of Super League with
Oh,
mixtape. I've since the reviews have maybe
yeah,
normalized a bit, I've dropped down, but
yeah.
I
And
can
it's
always
still,
say I was at top of Super League for a little
yeah. And the funny thing is that the score is actually probably where we would have envisioned it. Like it's at an 87 or an 88
bit.
right now. So
Yeah, it's
it's
87, and that's quite a bit higher than I was predicting. If we check the tape, I think might have said 78. So
mixtape.
yeah, I was
No.
very worried. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I got to go back and check
yeah,
that. How come I don't remember this? I've blocked this out of my memory now.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's a point for me then.
Yep.
Um, next up, Blood of the Dawn Walker got a release date for September 3rd. I think this is actually very big news because
Mm,
this was on my watch lists for the draft even, and I was like, avoid, probably not coming this
yeah,
year. But now they had a whole little showcase. I guess it was a deep dive
yeah.
where they told us the release date. They showed us more of the game. This is like a giant vampire RPG. It looks pretty cool. I actually really like a lot of the mechanics. I don't know if the game's for me. I get lost in these games, Marcus, but
Mm.
I think this is an interesting one that could be a bit of a surprise. I don't know.
I do too. I think like I have it. Our good friend Ron, the BFAM, or no, one of the leagues we play in. Maybe it's Save the Game Media League. I've counterpicked it off of Ron's roster,
Ah,
and in fairness to me, there wasn't a lot available to counterpick. I think I was one of the last, if not the last, person to make a counterpick. But anyways, I think it will probably do okay. Ron's not going to be listening to this anyways. I think it's probably going to do okay. And I think my only hope is that it's something, they need more time and it gets
a
pushed.
delay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's big.
Yeah.
It looks big. The
Yeah.
mechanics and what you can do in this game, like you fly around like a bat
Yeah.
and vampire, like different mechanics during the day versus at night. It's got my attention, and I usually like I'm a little bit hesitant with these large RPGs. I really have to have like something that hooks me, and this has got my attention. But I will say a counterpick on this, like I don't think you were crazy for doing that. I mean, this was kind of counterpick territory for me, only because I didn't not think this was coming this year. I had read
Yeah.
some stuff that were like, pointing in that direction. So yeah, well, good luck. I think I think it actually
I think
will do
it
pretty
looks
well
cool, and I
if it
am
comes
actually
out.
looking forward to
Yeah.
playing it too. Like
Yeah.
it does look cool. So
Yeah. This next one is a bit concerning. Mariachi Legends delayed from Q2 to Q4. I had picked this up. I'm relying on it in a couple different spaces. I'm also excited to play this game. I think this is one that we've all been very
yeah,
hyped for. So I don't know what it does to people's fantasy critic. I think people will probably still continue to hold on and see if a date gets announced in the next little while. We obviously have some big showcases coming up, but I don't know. Are you scared away yet from Mariachi Legends, or are you
it
hanging
did
on?
get dropped in a league that I play in. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
mine
pretty
too.
sure maybe it's in the BFAM league. Um.
And then another one.
Okay. So 'cause I know Michael dropped
Hmm.
it, and I haven't pulled the
Hmm.
trigger on adding it because that Q4 date, just Q4, like that. It's like for an indie game,
I know.
especially. Like I don't know that.
Yeah.
Um.
I think it was the Good Sir that dropped in the Carpool Gaming League, and
Oh,
that
okay.
really scared me. That
Yeah.
rocked me. That
Yeah.
shook me to my core. I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah. He knows
And he
indies. That
dropped it
guy. Yeah.
before the delay, so he's like, he
Oh
must be
yeah.
on the inside or something. I was like, "Uh oh."
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm hanging on. I'm just gonna see what happens.
Yeah. You got some time. If it
You
again,
mentioned,
you've got some time to figure it out.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's still time to figure it out. You mentioned this game on your Critics Royale team. Phenopolis
Yeah.
got dated for May 20th. People are very excited about this game. Can
Hmm.
I say I don't like the way it looks?
Oh, you
I know I'm in the
don't.
minority. No, I
Ah.
don't know. I usually like different art styles. Like usually that's the thing that first attracts me. But I've tried. I'm like, oh, everybody's very excited. I need to like understand what's going on here. I'm just like, I don't want to do. I don't want to play this. And I think that's like biasing my opinion.
Well, I don't want to
I'm
play
sure
it
that it'll
either
get.
because the gameplay is not
Yeah.
for me. But I think it looks very
Okay.
cool. It's kind of paper
Yeah.
crafty,
A little
wood-ish.
bit.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
Um,
the colors. It might be the
mm,
colors that they're using or something. But anyway,
yeah,
it's just nothing has like it was open for a while and available, I think, in a couple leagues, and I just have not pulled the trigger on it.
yeah.
I know that this is like a well-liked fantasy critic pickup. I
Hmm.
probably would agree. I think it's probably like if you're looking to round out a roster, this is a decent. By the time people are listening to this, it's probably going to be too late.
Yeah, it'll be too late.
Um, yeah, but yeah, for those that did take it, good on them.
Good luck. Anyways,
Um,
I feel like this. I don't know if
yeah,
this is in our prognostications, but I think this is kind of
I don't
primed
think I
for
put it.
that's it's okay. I think it's primed for like a mid to high 70s score. Like,
Really?
yeah,
Oh, see, like I thought it has the potential into the 80s. I
I think
think
it
that's
does too. But if
just
I
with the
would have to
hype
put
that's
money on
around
it,
it.
I put money on it. I'd probably put it in the 70s. I don't know that it's got
Okay.
enough depth from what I've seen.
Oh,
Um,
and I'm
but
glad I stayed away from it if this is your take.
well, that's my take for whatever that's
Yeah.
worth, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Similar, maybe like momentum, Schrodinger's Call
Yes,
with
tell
an
me about
end
this.
of May.
I saw you added this game in one
Yeah.
league. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, this is another one that's been like within like the Fantasy Critic Discord. Obviously, people have been talking about it for a while, but now there's actually got the dates coming, and it's a how would you describe it? It also has a very unique art style. I think it's a Japanese from like Japanese made game, but obviously it's in English, and it's like I've only done like a high level digging, but essentially like all I know is it's very much narrative and choice based game. You're like in a house, it's kind of freaky. The phone rings, you have to answer it, and you're like communicating with the dead, and then like or you're trying to help the dead or help people not die. It's like the end of the world, and like basically your choices will affect how things like unfold in the sort of story. There's no again light on gameplay, so
Hmm.
there'll be some people,
Yeah,
but
of
it's
course.
it's narrative based game. Um, I like the concept. I like the art. It's freaky and it's very odd, but I think if you read, I think there was a demo out where you could play the prologue or the first
Okay.
chapter, and that's what sold me because the individuals that were reviewing this preview or this kind of demo and talking about it were hooked.
Okay.
People were saying that in this first chapter they were crying. People were saying
Oh
that
wow.
they couldn't wait to play the next chapters and the release date couldn't come soon enough. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm sold. And yes, I was able to pick it up in one league. I think it's in the BFAM league,
Yeah.
um, where it was still available. So I feel decently good about that.
So yeah, I wanted to look it up to see the dev, and they haven't done anything, at least not that's not listed in Steam anyway.
Hmm.
So this is their first game. They're on their Steam page, they say it surpasses 100,000 wish lists, which I think is
Hmm.
pretty good for a small indie game. The art style is very good, very
Hmm.
unique. So yeah.
And it's coming to Switch and PC. So that's the other thing.
Aha, yes, that's very
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
So like the Switch release or the co-release, whatever you want to call it, I think like to me, at least with some of these like I don't want to call them smaller, but lesser known games, uh, is an important
Definitely.
thing. We saw
Definitely.
this with open. Oh, was that my yes? The publisher, Marcus. So I was about to make 2 points. One,
Okay.
the publisher, but also this idea of like a Switch release at the same time as a PC release. There's a lot of similarities with Opus Prism Peak
Okay.
because that is the same publishing house that released
Mm,
Opus this year. Not same devs, but same publisher. And also this like push for a, a at the same time simultaneous Switch PC release. So yes, okay, here's a better description than what I just said.
okay.
Narrative driven visual novel adventure features a story centered on character named Mary managing telephone calls with souls. Okay, thank you, Gemini AI overview. That did a better job than whatever the hell I just said. But yeah, I don't know how to pronounce this. Shueisha Games is the publishing house
Okay.
that put them out. So yes, I remember looking that up and said that's also a sign. I should follow this sign to pick
Mm,
this game up.
okay. Well, Opus
Anyway,
did well
Schrodinger's
for
call.
you. Did well for you
Yeah,
this year. This
I
maybe this
think
one too.
uh, I think this is one that like will surprise a lot of people. Maybe. I had first put a note here. there was a Blue Sky post by the creator or the developer of Citizen Sleeper some weeks ago where he just kind of put out a cryptic message, and I just put into our notes Citizen Sleeper 3 question mark, which obviously that wasn't it. But he did announce, I guess, this not relevant for this year, but he did announce the Citizen Sleeper Helion Rising, a TTRPG in the Citizen Sleeper universe coming 2027. So
That's true. There is more to this though, John.
oh,
They
did I miss this?
the
What
dev
else happened?
teased that they will be announcing their new game in June. So
Not this one. Not
nope,
this.
no, no,
Something
it's
else.
their new game. They have already indicated that it will not be another Citizen Sleeper video game.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's something
okay.
else, but they will be announcing it in June. So
Okay.
I
It's
I'm a
exciting.
big fan of Gareth Damian Martin. I love the Citizen
Yes.
Sleeper games. So I follow them on all social media. So I pay very close attention to anything Gareth Damian Martin says. And yes, they will be announcing next game. I would be shocked if it's coming this year. So it's just probably something to keep in the back of your mind for next year or
Yeah.
whenever it ends up coming. But yeah, we're going to get a little bit of information about the new Gareth Damian Martin game, which is great.
Exciting. Yeah. Very, very exciting. Both to play and for Fantasy Critic, I think.
That's right.
Yeah. Also, we heard that the Marvel Tokon fighting game is coming out in August. So that's been a high one on all our radars. We were just waiting on that date, and now we have it.
Mm.
August, probably a good time for a game like that to come out. Bit of a window there.
Is that
So
new? I
it'll be
thought we had
interesting.
known that date for a little while now.
Did we? I don't know. I just saw that pop up on the radar this month, and I was like,
Mm.
"Oh, August. Okay."
I think it was
Um,
announced at the PlayStation where it was last shown. So
okay.
we've known
Mhm.
it for a little bit because I have it. I have it. I think on a couple of teams. So I've known that
Oh,
it's
okay.
coming this year. Yeah, but
They showed something that
they must have
to
showed
me
something
that
new.
I didn't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. This date we did not know.
we
Mina the
didn't.
Hollower, finally, May 29th,
Hmm.
hopefully, which is only 2 weeks away. So it's there,
It's
everybody.
finally
It's coming.
coming. I was
You
actually
know.
listening to Kind of Funny has played it, and um, I think it's going to score well. Yeah, wasn't
Oh,
for
good.
all of the hosts,
You
but
scared me.
I
Yeah.
who has it? Greg Miller wasn't a big fan of it, but he doesn't like those types of games. That's fine. I think like Andy and Tim really liked it, so I think that this is a shoe in to be mid to high 80s, potentially even
Oh, good.
90 potential. I'd be pretty shocked if this dips into the low 80s, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, I'm gonna have to carve out time to play this.
Yes.
Like, there's so many
Yes.
games they're
Yes.
releasing, and from what I understand about Yacht Club is that they're a bit desperate here. This needs to succeed. So, I
They've said this.
most
Yeah.
times I won't buy a game on day one unless I plan to play it on day one. This might be one. It's only $20. That's
I
the other
know.
thing, right? Or American.
Yeah.
But I might just buy it just cause and hold it, even if I don't play it day one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be a good one.
Okay, let's get into the Nintendo news, shall we? April was rife with Nintendo stuff. So obviously we had the Nate the Hate leak, and then towards the end of April, the game Star Fox still wasn't shown, and he said that it was going to be shown in April, and everybody turned their backs on Nate the Hate, except those true believers who
Yep.
knew that he could be trusted because he's never wrong, and those people were rewarded. Um, I will say at some point people were considering, like, was this a Nintendo trap?
Yeah.
Like this, they've
They're
done this
feeding
before with
him
Star
false
Fox, where
information.
yeah, well, not him particularly, but within the organization to try
Yeah.
and suss out like who's the leaker of the information.
Right.
But no, it just was May, and it was always going to be May, and he was right. So Star Fox is coming June 25th, which is quite soon,
Yep.
and I don't know what we want to say here. The part that we didn't know through the leak is that it's a Star Fox 64 remake, essentially.
Yeah.
And that has caused a lot of consternation in leagues that don't allow remakes,
Oh, yes.
including Super League. Yes, yes, the
Yes,
Super League is
I
burning
forgot
down.
that's where you were going with this. Yes, yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah. I will say that Steve is a very uh, good man to democratize people offering their opinion
Yeah.
on this when clearly everybody has their own bias. I chose to stay out of it because I actually do have this game on my Super League, and I'm just kind of like watching this unfold. He needs to. My suggestion to Steve is, if it was just me, just make a call. Just
Yeah.
make. Don't even listen to anybody. Just make the call. Or what he needs is like an unbiased, you know, gaming expert. Just like call up like
Yeah.
Jason Schreier or something to like be like, is this a reimagining or a remake? And just like put it in someone else's hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be in his
Um,
position making these decisions. That sounds awful. Yeah.
it was a fun discourse. Unless you're really, upset by this, like I'm going to get a big fat zero potentially. I know that they're still reviewing the rules,
Okay.
and there's a lot to unpack there. I'm not going to get into that because we do have other listeners that aren't in Super League, but for other leagues where remakes are allowed, I'm quite happy because I also have it there.
Yeah.
And I wrote down, it's coming June 25th. I wrote down a bunch of stuff, and this is initially when I was going to try and make the case of why it was a reimagining versus a remake. But I've actually, having given it more thought over the last couple of weeks, I think my mistake, not so much with this game because we didn't know this was going to be a remake, but my mistake with Zelda is I don't think I realized how high the bar is for a
Mm,
reimagining. It's quite high,
right.
um, like quite high. Like it really is like threading the needle of a not just reconstruction, but even change. So because this game, they've got Marcus. Did you watch the trailer?
No.
Did you? Oh my God, Marcus!
No.
You
I
no
have
start. Not even a Sound
zero
of Music.
interest
Oh,
in
oh
most
my God.
Nintendo stuff. So yeah. I've
Oh
heard
God.
about the
Okay.
discourse around it, but I haven't not watched it myself.
Okay. So Star Fox 64 with new character designs. Obviously, introducing new cutscenes with like voice acting
Hmm.
updates, so that's interesting. It's just more story and lore. Um, they've obviously the campaign looks basically like identical, just new, like the design of the levels and everything. But they do have a challenge mode. They've introduced essentially what is mouse controls that puts you into first person rather than third person, which I think is super interesting. The multiplayer, which was a highlight of the N64, has been revamped. They do have 4v4 dogfighting, which looks pretty awesome with 3 different types of games. Like I think that could potentially do very well if people really pick up on this. They've got game share via online game chat, Marcus. So right now, game share is something you can do if you had a Switch 2 and your child had a Switch 1
Right.
or another, like you only have one copy of the game you can share. They've like allowed you to do this online now, potentially with like
Okay.
friends. It's quite they put a lot of crap into this game. Everybody's saying it's like short.
Yeah.
You can use your 64 controller compatible, and they have this like weird overlay VTuber thing where your Switch 2 camera, if you hook up a camera, can like turn you into Fox McCloud or the other characters. So if you're talking with your friends, it looks like you're Fox talking to other
Okay.
people. It's very strange,
Okay.
you know. But I will just, the reason I bring it up is because like I think some people were probably concerned like how a remake like this was going to be scored. It's a bit cheaper than a regular priced game. It has a lot of nostalgia, and it's based on a game that was pretty much the pinnacle of this franchise. And they've tried to do all these like extra things to really juice the experience. So I think it'll probably be well received. I
Okay.
don't think it's going to like rock the world, but I'm more confident now having seen some of the things. Now, I will say there was a lot of blowback on the character designs.
I was going to
Like people
say,
were just,
this is what I know
I
about. This is
don't
what I've
think it's
heard.
that bad. People are,
Okay.
listen, this is mixtape
Nobody has
all
thought
over
like it
again.
looked good though. Like some people are like,
The game itself
whatever.
and the
Well, no,
gameplay
the
looks good.
character. Like
Yes.
I'm talking about the character designs. Nobody has like been
I
like,
thought
I love them.
I liked it.
You
I
okay?
don't
You're the
love them,
first that
but
I've heard that said
I
this.
like it. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Not Slippy, but like everyone else for the
Okay.
most part is fine. Like
Okay.
it is a choice to go like hyper realistic, but that's what Nintendo does. They are weird. And
Yeah.
watch, 5
Yeah.
years from now, everybody's going to look back and it's going to be like the
Just
coolest
normal.
shit that they've ever
Okay.
seen, and everyone's gonna be but
And then like this is not the first time this game has been remade either, right? That's what I've
correct. They
heard.
just keep remaking the same game
Why?
over and over again.
To
I
me,
don't know.
like to me
I
that
don't know.
I'm like I would be pissed off if I'm a Star Fox fan and I played this game multiple times on multiple different versions of it. And maybe if you were
Yeah.
already getting a lot of other new options, I wonder how much that, like, again, I am very removed from this kind of ecosystem and that fandom. So maybe I'm not interpreting this correctly, but I do wonder, I guess, if that might play into reviews a little bit. The reviewers who are fans of
Good.
this are really like, why are we doing this again? And then just coming in with a
Yeah.
bit of, even if they kind of like it, if they're already coming in with a bit of that baggage, if
Yeah.
that biases a little bit of the reviews and ends
Yeah.
up skewing them a bit lower, I don't know.
That's a risk. That and the character designs
Yeah.
is a risk. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Some of the discourse has been that it's not for those people. So
Right.
the other thing is that the movie just came out, right? And a lot of the
Yes.
character design critique, I think, is being driven because everybody just wanted the anime Star Fox that they saw in the
Right.
movie. Like that would have been, I think, what they should have done. But that's driving some of it. But there's also a whole new generation of kids that just saw Star Fox for the first time and are going to get to play this game that haven't before. So, yeah, with reviewers, they may have some qualms for sure, but
Yeah.
they're selling to other people. I don't know how much they actually care. Matt made the point last time that Star Fox just traditionally doesn't score that well. So,
Yeah.
maybe remaking the good one is the right move. I don't know.
Because I have this on one team, as I mentioned last episode, and this discourse, which I've held off, but I
Yeah,
was like, should I drop this? Like, do I even want the hassle of this, or should I? uh, You you
I
seem
don't
high.
know.
You feel like this isn't a league that
I
we
think
played
there's enough
together. So
there.
yeah,
Yeah, I think there's enough there, but I'm also like a sucker for this thing. Like, yeah,
yeah,
what I would have wanted is like Starlink, the Star Fox Starlink game,
mm,
just purely Star Fox, like get Ubisoft to make that kind of like open world dogfighting, game in the Star Fox world in that anime art style. It's not that.
yeah.
That would rock, you know, at a different level, but I'm not dropping this game.
Okay,
We'll see. I don't know. Like it's so hard to
I'm gonna
tell,
blame you, I
though.
guess, if
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like
yeah,
I'm going. I haven't seen. I should actually go check like the top drop list. I haven't seen people dropping this game from what
no,
they've shown. So,
no. If anything, I think it got added a lot, and we'll get into that in a
oh
little bit. Yeah, it's on our
yeah,
list of added games. So
yeah. Okay, let's keep it going because there's a whole lot of
yeah, we
news.
still got a
So,
few more.
the other thing is Lego Batman previews dropped, and it is getting a lot of high praise. It looks great. Trailers look great. Um, Still a Lego game, which don't necessarily score super high, but this one looks like it could be something that breaks the mold. People are saying it's basically like Arkham. It's like the Arkham games, but in Lego style,
Yeah,
with so many movie references. Like speaking of nostalgia, like so many just movie references from the last 30 years of Batman. So, um, yeah, I don't have it in any leagues, so I don't know.
me neither.
Doesn't
Yeah,
affect me.
yeah,
Yeah. Next up, that PVKK long titled game tower defense thing got delayed to 2027. I know that a lot of people were actually like targeting this in different Fantasy Critic leagues, so it's pushed out. But at least you know now rather than later.
yeah. I didn't add this game because I feel like the name is just obnoxious. I was like, I can't have this
Yeah,
on my roster. But
yeah. Reviewers are gonna have to type that out in their review. Is gonna just be
yes,
like pissed. Yeah.
yeah.
Then the next one, no, not a definitive delay. Stranger Than Heaven. So let's talk about this drama for a second. So Stranger Than Heaven, they did, I guess it wasn't a showcase, but they did a trailer release. There was something that they released recently that showed the game off a little bit.
Yep.
But they didn't. They just said winter 2027 or 2026,
They just said, I
and they
think they
said
said this winter is what they said. This
this
coming winter or
winter.
something like that. Yeah.
There was something cryptic, and
Yes.
it's very unclear now if it's coming out or not. Thoughts on this one? I know that you were somewhat high on it.
I was intrigued about it. I think Matt had talked quite highly of it last
Matt
episode, and
was
I looked
very high
into
on
it.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I added it after our conversation. I think it was BFAM League, and
Hmm.
with this news, I dropped it or
Oh,
yeah, I don't think that winter 2027 or this winter does not mean December of this year.
no.
It to me that's January, February. Best
Yeah.
case scenario. Like this is going to come up actually in the added games as well because it got added one of the top ads at least one of the weeks that we're looking at, and I think that the likelihood that this comes out this year is very low. Not something I would want to be banking on at all.
Yeah.
So it does look good though.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah, our 2027 list has started. Like, I
Yeah.
know we're only in May, but the 2027 list, we've talked about the developers 1,000 times for this, Citizen Sleeper. We've got Talos Principle, which we're about to mention in a
Yep.
second. There's all sorts of games pushed out to 2027 where, a pretty sure, like, good couple first round pickups
Yes.
already. That's early for that kind of thing. But yeah, so Talos Principle 3 got shown, teased maybe, and very much not 2026. But
Have they? So I was looking into this.
no, well, I don't know. I don't know where the 2027 thing is coming from.
Me neither. So I maybe I
Okay.
do know is like I was looking because it came out just on I think it was Devolver because Devolver's a publisher, so they had tweeted that it's coming and with a release trailer, and then I went
Hmm.
on to the Steam page and there's nothing. It just says coming soon. The trailer itself says coming soon, so it's like okay, soon is not TBD or whatever. Like soon could be soon. It could be this year. Probably not. The second one wasn't that long ago, but soon does not like it didn't definitively say 2027. And then I was like, why do I think it's 2027? A Game Informer article says
Well,
2027,
yeah.
and then but nothing
Lots
that
of
I've seen
articles are saying
quoted.
2027.
No quote from a dev says 2027 and the trailer doesn't say 2027. So I'm inclined to think that it's probably 2027, but I don't know that it actually is confirmed that it is. So I guess I would just say for people that are listening, keep your ears open for information and maybe a little bit more confirmation one way or the other, because Talos Principle 3 is something that is worth paying attention to. The first game I think scored an 87, the second game scored an 89. So the third one I think is definitely one you want to have on your radar. So if there's any chance that it might come this year, which is probably very low, but I
It's
don't
low.
think
Yeah.
it's been confirmed. At least from the information when I was digging what would have been 2 days ago when it first came out. So maybe something's come out since then, but
I don't know what the hell's going on with this. I know because when I saw the trailer, like you said, it looks open ended. Probably not this year, but not this year.
yeah,
Some of these articles are saying that Devolver has quoted that, so maybe there was a release. It's like an actual
okay.
huge release, but I'm not seeing any quotes though.
Right.
Um, they said, I don't know. I agree. I'm not touching it right now because I think the likelihood. I don't. I, when it first got shown, Marcus, I'm not going to lie. I had two open bids in droppable leagues with over $30 against this game.
Yes.
And within an hour of seeing the Fantasy Critic newsline update in Discord, those bids were dropped or
Well,
canceled.
I immediately went
Um,
because I didn't know that this it was. I think the listing is unannounced Talos Principle 3 game or
mhm,
something, right? And it wasn't even a confirmed thing. It had been in the system, so I didn't even know. I was ready to put a bid in, and then I'm like, "What do we got for date?"
yeah,
And it was only Game Informer at the time was the only article written piece that said 2027, and every other article that I looked at the time just said coming soon, which is what it says in the trailer, right? And so
yeah.
maybe more information's come out since. Like maybe you said,
Yeah, this one just says releasing soon,
yeah,
and then most others are just are saying that they're quoting them that's coming 2027. I agree. I think this story is not yet told. I think we got to wait till June to see what the hell's going on, if there's anything else released here. I don't think it's actually 2026, but until someone tells me, like, you got to be ready,
if there
you know.
is just the slimmest chance that it like just keep your keep your eyes and ears
Yeah.
peeled for information about Talos Principle, because if it does, you get a bid on that and put a big bid on that, because you want that on your team.
I saw this just today. Wario64 quoting, I guess, I don't know this outlet, or I think it's the news press release that Elden Ring Tarnished Edition and Duskbloods are still due out this year.
Okay.
So that's positive.
The
Continue
Tarnished
holding
Edition
on that
is
front.
for Switch 2. That's what that one is.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And it notoriously was really bad when they first showed it and
Okay.
demoed it. So I think they're hoping that there was some polish being added to fix whatever was ailing it back then. I'll say one thing: playing Resident Evil Requiem on Switch 2, like that, the thing can hold its own.
Okay.
So they should get it working. Anyway, then there was just tonight, as before we're recording this, there's apparently a leak online suggesting from Best Buy potentially suggesting that GTA 6 pre-orders might be due up next week. So
Okay.
that could be interesting. Maybe they actually is coming this year. There you go. Stay
Maybe.
tuned.
Yep. I mean, that's like such a
Also,
tiny little tick in
I
towards
know.
the yes, it's coming this year. Like, yeah, I guess it's better than not, but
Yeah. And then this is similar to this one. This is more rumor than anything else. A leak. I think one of these Nintendo insider or leakers. There's some fire and smoke around the idea that Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave might have a September release date. So that's something that there was also some talk about a direct, but like people predicting that there's going to be a direct in June is like, yeah, I can do that too. There will be
yeah.
one.
I'm actually a little surprised that we haven't heard anything about this game yet. Like for like
Yet,
this year,
yeah.
right? Um
Yeah, they're just
so
holding. I
yeah.
think they're holding. Like they're, I don't know. I don't know how Fire Emblem does in terms of sales for them. I think it's, does okay, but it's not like one of their big franchises.
Right.
Um, for listeners, also tonight, Miyamoto went online and social media to talk about Zelda. Not that
Oh.
Zelda. They just moved the movie up. They just
Okay.
moved the movie up by a week. It's
Mm.
fine. The movie got, but definitely trolling the internet. Definitely Miyamoto trolling all of the internet to announce personally that the
Yeah.
movie's been moved up a week.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, and then lastly on this news piece, I thought was worthwhile mentioning is the Tribeca Festival. Their games list has been announced, which I know we've talked about a little bit. I think last year, just in terms of like indies and other games that kind of get certain accolades. So the list is up if people want to go take a look. You can dive in. We're not going to cover all of them. I think there's 12 in total. There were a few that I thought were worth mentioning. This first one sounds interesting, and I feel like I've heard people talk about it in the past. Is Demi and the Fractured Dream, um, action adventure game. I think it just sounds. It's being published by Annapurna, and they've had a pretty decent track record recently. And then it says it's a game where you're tackling dungeons filled with environmental puzzles, um, and the like. So sounds like it could be really cool. Something a little bit different. Um, this next one I do want to talk about, though, Kid Bash Super Legend. This is the one that we've been following for a while. I think both you and I, Marcus. For those that might remember this, I think you had mentioned, Marcus, that it was first shown at potentially a 6-1 Indie Showcase.
I think it was their one last spring. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They call this in this article, they're calling it a nostalgia roguelike action platformer. For everybody else, it's essentially Mega Man done up to the nines in a way more modern, with a lot more maybe different types of action type mechanics. It looks super fun. I didn't realize it was a roguelike.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks, but I can understand like how that will probably unfold. I mean, having played Saros, like I think there is a world in which you create these like hard ass games that have roguelike elements that you kind of, and Mega Man famously, like that replayability essentially was a roguelike.
Mm.
Before they had
It
the
could
save states and
be
stuff, you had
Rogue Legacy could be a bit of a comparable.
hmm,
I don't know if you played either of the Rogue Legacy games, but that first
not
one I
yet.
spent a lot of time with, and that's what that could be a little bit.
Hmm.
Because it really is that 2D kind of platformer bosses,
Yeah,
But yeah, Kid Bash looked really good at that
I,
I haven't looked at
I
into anything recently, but I remember it was a standout of that 6-1 indie
yeah,
showcase that it was in.
yeah, it looks awesome. Both from the like art style and from like how it's going to play. I can't wait to play it. I feel like no one's talking about this from a fantasy critic perspective. I don't know how something like this will score, but I got to think that if people are as excited as me, then so
Mm.
long as they kind of deliver, it could be quite solid of a pickup.
Do we know
There's no
like
dates around any of
okay,
this.
that was it. Do they give any
Yeah,
windows or
no,
anything like that? It's just
no.
okay.
I just figure if they're showing it to a film fest or not film festival, but to this festival,
Yeah.
presumably it's done because people have to play it in
Yeah.
order to
Yeah.
judge it, right?
That's fair. Yeah.
Might need polish or whatever. But next one, which I think is coming out this year, or had a good chance to come out this year, is there are no Ghosts at the Grand. This one did have a little bit of fantasy critic interest. I remember people picking it up early in the season. Um, I've stayed away because I'm not sure it's going to come out, and I'm not
Mhm.
sure about this title, but I do know that it's one that's getting some
Our
nibbles.
our friend John from Gaming in the Wild, I heard him talking about this on his podcast. He had got the opportunity to play the demo at I don't remember the name of the festival that he went to in London, and
Mm.
he
Oh yeah,
played through the
yep.
demo and really enjoyed it.
Mm.
I think it has more because it gives off a bit of a almost like a power wash simulator sort of thing. You're cleaning up this hotel, but there's more to it than that. There is this
Yeah.
kind of horror ish element, and you're not only stuck in the hotel. That was something I remember him distinctly saying that surprised him in the demo. Even you're getting off the hotel grounds and you go to an island and do some stuff over
Mm.
there, and then so it I think it had a bigger scope than he was originally anticipating, and I think he was at walked away at least from the demo. Don't want to put words in your mouth, John, if you happen to be listening, but I think he walked away from the demo quite pleased with where it was at, or intrigued at least to give it a full shot. So
And the last one was Virtue and a Sledgehammer that I wanted to call out. Devolver game. I think this one, a lot of the maybe super fantasy critic fans are already aware of. Looks like it's going to be quite the hit. I famously had this counterpicked mostly because I didn't think it was coming out this year. So it's showing up here does probably not bode well for me. Um, but yeah, I think it's worth noting because if it gets the kind of accolades we expect it to at something like this, it could be a worthwhile pickup if we start hearing of release date.
yeah, well,
But
these devs
yeah,
do.
so
It's like
far.
it's they're two. Um, there are two different devs, Selkie Harbor and then Deconstruct Team, and they both came together to do Many Nights a Whisper, which is a little like short game. We played it for Tiny Game Chronicles last
Mhm.
year, and I think it maybe 90 minutes long, and but a
Mm.
really good thought provoking game that I think scored pretty decently, like 82 to 84 range. So
Mhm.
Virtue and Sledgehammer sounds like it's a bit bigger. I don't really
Yeah,
know much about the gameplay or beyond, just reading these descriptions. I don't think I've actually seen a trailer or anything, but um,
same.
I would be happy to have this game on my team.
Especially if you think it's coming now. Like I think there's
Yep.
been some signals that there might, could land this year.
Yep.
And then just before we finish this section off, we are heading into what is the Summer Game Fest season, which I'm sure we'll talk about way more on the next episode. But I just wanted to call out that maybe kicking off that summer Game Fest season, although they're not connected there, is the 6-1 Indie group. They have their next showcase scheduled for May 21st. So, as Marcus already highlighted, there's been some that have had some that have been debuted there that could have some real impact with regards to fantasy critics. So everybody should be watching out for that on May 21st.
Yes, they're
So yeah,
doing.
look forward to
I saw the announcement. I think it was just today. I don't know if they had confirmed this previously, but they're doing showcasing 61 indies
it.
over 93 minutes. So it's going to be a big show. Lots of cool announcements, I'm sure. Mike Towndrow is going to be stepping away, so this is his last showcase. So he and Kyle are the kind of the leads over at 6-1 Indie.
Mhm.
Friend of the show, Kyle Stevenson. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they have in store for us for Mike's last show. And And yeah, it's gonna be a good one. Very excited.
Exciting stuff. Okay, let's look back at the month that was.
Hype check.
All right. So, number of games came out. I think none of this is that surprising. Let's start with Moomin Troll, 82. I think 82 makes sense.
Yep.
You
I
know,
think that's probably right around where we said, kind of high 70s, low 80s.
yeah,
It was sitting, I think it
yeah,
got up to about 85 at one point. And I was like, wow, that's a bit
yeah. That would be high.
that,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
has dropped back
yeah.
down. So,
Then Aphelion.
yep.
Aphelion soaring a 67, carrying that Don't Nod curse around its waist and continuing that trend. So, yeah, I don't know what to say about that, except they
Yeah.
continue to hover around that mark. But they keep producing these games that people seem to like, the ones that let people that play them. So,
I've heard that this one, the story is good, but the
mhm.
gameplay is a little bit of a slog. So maybe pick it up on a sale at one point.
Has some actors in it, from what I understand, in terms of casting. So, Inconveni, we talked about scoring a 76. Shout out to Matt Sawinski.
That's right. Yeah.
He's a big supporter of this game. I know he was very high on it. I actually still want to play it. I'm glad I stayed away from it though. I was really looking at this game hard early in the season, and kind of just shied away from it. And kind of glad that I did at this point. I don't need any more 76s on my teams. I got enough of those
And this one
this year.
started out
So
high too, John. Like I think
it
again
did
it was
like
85.
85, 88.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's dropped a bit.
Yeah. Invincible versus scoring a 78, which is probably more or less where I think we had placed it. I thought it could get there and seems to have landed around that spot. Saros scoring an 87. No, this one has come down a little bit.
A little bit.
You
Yep.
have this game, right? You've been
I
following
do have it, yes, in one league. Yeah.
Yes, and I have it in one as well. And it's come down to 87, which is good. Very good game. I've been playing it, almost done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I never played Returnal, so this is just like jumping in. I'm kind of cheesing it though. I'm not super happy with the way I'm playing it, so maybe I'm not getting the full experience.
Yeah.
I still feel
How
like
much
I am,
time
but I'm
have you
just
put into it to be almost done?
I don't know. I've been
Oh,
playing like an hour a night for like 2
okay.
weeks, so
Okay.
14,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay. So it's not
And
it's not that big because Returnal was a bigger game than that, or at least it took
I think
people
it
longer
depends.
to
Yeah, well, I heard that Returnal was harder, which
yeah.
I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And I think it just depends on how much you want to see in the
Mm.
game. But like, there's an auto fire gun that I've been using and
Okay.
just like juicing it up to its max, and then like I don't even have to like aim. I just focus on my defense.
Right.
and
Kind of
just
like a
pull the
vampire
trigger and
crawler sort of thing.
kind of. I'm
Yeah.
just like jumping
Vampire
around
Survivors, I
and
guess, is more the thing. Yeah.
yeah, I'm platforming. I'm platforming and holding a trigger button now. That's how I'm playing that game.
Yeah.
But no, I like it. I like it a lot. I'm not super skilled at that, but I'm enjoying it. I threw this next one in for Jace. Jace is in a couple different communities that I'm in, and I know he's big on Fantasy Critic and Gambonanza, which I've heard and seen pop up in a couple different more obscure discussions. I think people were hoping for more. Just scored a 73.
Mm-hmm. That's a chess like Balatro, like or something.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So it's like, those ones you can never really know what they're going to do. Waxheads, big news. I know that you've been talking this one up for a while, scoring also an 87. You look at that, getting you the same type of points that Saros is. That's a huge, huge success.
Yep.
To those that believed in that game. I wish I had more faith.
Heeded our
because I know we've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah. Well, our friend Daryl had picked it up in our BFAM league based on our advice, and
I know Daryl's using our advice against us.
I know. So.
He's doing very well. I've been watching. He has also Forza in another league. He's doing quite well in a couple spots. So good on him. Also an 87 mixtape. That's where it's at right now. Also a game suffering from a decline from where it started. I think it was at 92 at one point, and it's down to 87. But we were big on this since the draft, so I'm glad it's kind of come through.
Yep.
Directive 8020, also 76. I get these confused with those other.
Yeah, this is the super massive.
It is super
game.
massive. Yeah,
I have this counter picked in our BFAM league. I think a 76 is about as good as it could have gotten, and it's got quite a few reviews. So I don't think it's going to move. I was hoping it might drop a few points, but
What's your counter pick? What's your counter pick like threshold of comfort? I feel like if I lose 6 points, I'm okay with that on a counter pick. I'm
well,
not like
yeah, I
searching to lose
suppose.
6 points,
Yeah.
but
It
like my
depends on the
threshold is like
league.
anything 75 and below is good.
Yeah.
76 is,
I'm okay with it. Like I'm okay with losing. Like I don't want to
yeah,
lose. Like if I lose 10 points, then I'm pissed. Like I've
pissed.
made a
Yeah,
bad pick. I think really anything less than that. It depends on the league though. Like Super League,
I
there
know,
was
I know.
honestly like it was so thin. We had to
Yeah,
make so
Super
many
League,
counter
you're
picks,
screwed.
2 counter
Yeah,
picks, and so there just wasn't a lot of options. Other leagues there tends to be a bit more. So I'd be, um, and it depends too on the players. Like some people go
yeah.
crazy with their their draft picks, pick very low probability picks.
That's true.
So yeah, I'm not that disappointed with the 76, but I was kind of hoping for like a 72.
Gotcha.
Yeah, which I thought was realistic, to be honest, given
Yep.
Supermassive's recent history.
Yeah, you
So
were going to lose some points, but it was just a matter of like how many.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then today, was it today?
Today,
What day is
this
it today?
morning,
Yes,
yes,
today, as we're recording this, Forza Horizon 6 reviews were released and it came in at a 91,
yep,
which I think is right around where the other ones landed. So
yes, yeah. It's pretty
very
rock
much
solid franchise with this.
consistent.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Not too much else to say about Forza. It did what it was meant to be. I think it's interesting. I think we had said once it got that release date that it was the number one pick of the year.
We did
And I
say
think
that.
as of
Yep,
now, it's there. We'll see if
yep.
it stays there. Okay, let's look ahead and see where people are kind of putting their money and their bidding dollars. Um, I don't know. It's kind of been all over the place a little bit, and I think it's just really reflecting some of the news that's been coming out. Um, no real big trend. So looking at the week of May 2nd, we're kind of just pulling up the screen here in terms of where, what was the top of the board in terms of where people were putting their money. Not surprisingly, a lot of games that got dates and real announcements are the things that people were bidding on.
Exactly. Yep.
Uh, so Phenopolis kind of at the bottom of that list. So I'm actually surprised. I know it's only 33 bids, but to make that leaderboard, given it's a small
Hmm.
game that people are paying attention, which is good. Zero praise for Dead Spies, which we did talk about a little bit. We're going to talk about it more when we do Pixel Prognostications. We've famously been a bit low on this, and people are picking up on that because it's approaching in terms of its release date.
Yep.
Um, within
Mixtape with
this
30.
list,
How many? 31 people got mixtape on their roster just a few days before it came out. So
right
congrats to
before,
them.
so yeah, they're just
Yeah.
looking to fill it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
lucky them. The ones I don't know what to do with here, because we've talked about Splatoon Raiders, we've talked about Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I want to talk about Blood of the Dawnwalker a little bit more,
Okay.
and Star Wars Galactic Racer, because these are
Mm,
two games now that have dates in the fall, which
yep.
is always a little bit scary. Um, and I would suggest that they're a little bit unknown quantities. Obviously, like Star Wars, we know what it is, but like in terms of how this game is going to score and perform, it still feels like they're a little bit unknowns to me.
I think
Um,
we're getting. Yes, I would agree. I have no interest in Star Wars Galactic Racer. I think it could score okay. I think that the reason it's getting added is because it's got Star Wars in the title. Like
in the title,
that's probably it. I'm frankly shocked that
should do
there
a Star
was.
Wars episode.
We could do
See
a
how
Star.
Star Wars
There's so many
franchise.
Star Wars games.
Do a Star Wars. Yeah,
The Blood of the Dawnwalker, I'm a little surprised there were that many. It was available in as many leagues to
that's
kind
what
of,
I'm thinking. Yeah,
because it
yeah,
was drafted in every league that I played in or
yeah.
play in. And
Same.
so it got added
So
in
yeah, I'm
76
surprised.
leagues. That's a decent amount. So I think
Yeah,
if it was available, I think it's a good ad, especially after the kind of the date got announced. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And then the following week, I like this trend. So the following week, so just this past Saturday, there's a lot of similar, like same games up here, so people are still kind of following the news. But top of this leaderboard is Star Fox
Yep.
2026 with 525 bids. So people liked what they saw. Over 9,000, close to $10,000 in bidding dollars
Yeah.
spent on Star Fox now that it has a date. Interesting. Interesting that people saw it and kind of are going for it still. So that gives me some confidence that people are not super low on it, as some of the discourse has suggested.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't think I think there's worse things. I don't know how much budget. I think we talked about it last time, or maybe 2 episodes ago. I don't want to spend that much budget on Star Fox.
Yep.
But under $20, $15, depending on it. Depends on like again, composure of your league makes a big difference, especially given that this is considered a remake now. I don't know. I'm feeling okay about it. It's the nostalgia goggles.
That's good to hear. I'm not super confident in it. Again, just that discourse around it makes me a little nervous, but I think I'll probably ride this one out in that one league that I have it. So, and Stranger Than Heaven got added based on that this winter release date. I think that's a
Yeah, it's a little
mistake.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the previous list,
But
it was not, Matt last episode talked about Metro, what is it, 2039 or whatever, the new Metro
yeah,
game. And it's got a saying this winter
yeah.
release date. So I don't know. I'm in I live in northern Canada, John. Winter here starts in October, but that's not what they mean when they say
No,
this
they mean
winter.
December,
They mean
maybe.
December or
Yeah.
into the new year. And
Into
and
yeah,
I just don't think that December is not very many games get released in December.
yeah.
So
No, I agree. Yeah.
I just think that
I
it's
mean, this
very
could be a
unlikely.
lot of people that have, yeah, this could be a lot of leagues here, people bidding in leagues that have a lot of like open drops. So holding something like Stranger Than Heaven might be a strategic decision, at least at this point, and then
Yeah,
maybe they'll hear more. But if they said this winter, I worry that they're not going to know in time to like,
that's
you're
right.
losing a roster spot. Essentially, it's like a
Yep.
value cost for how long you're going to hold that. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it.
Yep.
The only other one on this list that's somewhat different and I think is hilarious is Zelda Ocarina of Time remake has now jumped up again back onto this leaderboard.
Yep.
And that is because Nate the Hate has proven that he can be trusted, and
I
so
guess
this
so.
has
Yeah.
reinforced people's belief in his what he had prognosticated himself on the podcast that he runs. So yeah, we'll have to see. I'm very concerned about my Super League chances now. I expected there to be risk with Zelda.
Yeah.
I did not expect there to be risk
Versus with
with
Star
Star
Fox.
Fox.
Yeah.
So I'm in a bit of a quagmire myself. But watch Zelda now be the reimagining,
That's
and
right.
I
Yeah.
can, I'll take
You
it. Like I
lock it
said,
at
I'll take it.
90,
Yeah,
95 or something. Yeah.
yeah, I'll do that. I'll take that. Okay. Outside of what we talked about, I don't think there's anything else we want to flag in terms of games that people should be targeting at this point. Like
We're kind of
June's
in that
coming, just
really a
hold off.
lull
Yeah,
period in terms of ads.
exactly.
I think that unless you are really desperate to get something on your roster now, you could probably wait another month and there'll be you'll have lots of opportunity to
Yeah,
get some new stuff.
absolutely. Okay, let's choose some game scores.
Pixel Prognostications.
Okay, let's start off with Zero Parades for Dead Spies. This is a tough one. We've been talking. I said last episode that I could see a world in which this still does okay.
Yep.
Obviously, people are high on it because of the connection to Disco Elysium, but we know that the team is very different than that construction. I'm going to be conservative with where I start with this, or what I think is conservative, because I've counterpicked it. Like, so we're just talking about, like, what would you be comfortable with a counterpick? I'm going to say 77.
Okay.
Where do you think
I feel like
Marcus?
this does have a wide range of possibilities. Like I do think that
Unfortunately,
it could come out, and I don't think this has a realistic possibility of hitting the highs of Disco Elysium. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that
Mm-hmm.
it may not be that far off, or at least has the potential to be not that far off. I'm not going to bet on that though. I think it has a lot of negative kind of energy around it, that the zeitgeist that we've talked about in the past, I don't think is super great for this game. 77 is a good number. I think I'm going to take the under though. I'm going to go 75.
I'd be happy to be wrong on this one.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be happy for you to take that point if it means the counter pick in one of my leagues is not too bad. Do you want to kick us off here? Coffee Talk Tokyo.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually we haven't mentioned that at all to this point, or really that much at all. Like,
I mean, people
the
have
last
been
couple
picking it up.
episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, people have been picking it up consistently. It hasn't showed up on the leaderboard. I think it was drafted a bunch. We were famously low on this at the start of the season because of how the other ones in the series have scored.
Well,
I think
that's what I just wanted to look up, because I do have it on when I was doing my analysis of sequels. So the first Coffee Talk game got a 74, and the second did a decent amount better, 81. Now, had we only been doing the inevitable trilogy episode, I would actually have a bit better of a handle about where to kind of rank this one. I'm going to say 79.
Yeah, that's
for Coffee Talk Tokyo.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if I should just do 81 again. Yeah, okay, I'll do the over. I'll take an 81 for this.
Okay.
I don't think it'll get there. I'm just hedging my bets here. Okay, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. Speaking of series, most of these games score 80, so I'm just going to say 80. Although I should probably go a little higher. Maybe I'll go a little higher.
Okay.
Let me go a little higher. Because let's talk about Yoshi for a second.
Okay.
We didn't talk about this in the news.
No.
They did show more of this game. And what it's doing different, Marcus, is that even though it's a platformer by design, you can't die.
Oh.
So this is a very big departure. It's more of an exploration game. It's almost like they've turned a platformer slightly cozy. They've done it where it's a collectathon, but you're collecting like characters. You can name the character. It's so in addition to the nice artistic style that they have, and a lot of people that I know really love what it looks like, they're also trying to do something different with the platformer genre to make it accessible to more people. And the one thing that gives me some positive vibes here is that, you know, everybody knows it's made for kids or younger audience, but the older reviewers that kind of did the previews were actually like pleasantly surprised with what they were engaging with, and it felt different. At least that's been the sense from the 3 or 4 articles I was reading. So I don't think it's going to break any molds, but I do think I want to go a little bit higher than 80. Like, not a lot higher, but like I'm going to say 82.
Okay. That's what I was going to say. So I'm going to take yeah. I haven't even seen what I was going to ask you. Is this 2D or is it 3D? It's 2D.
It's 2D.
Yeah? 2?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I haven't even seen what it looks like. So I don't know. I'll take the under 81. Let's go 81.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 80 is probably going to be an 80. I'm not going to lie. All the other ones have been 80.
Yeah.
So, okay. This one's harder in my estimation. Lego Batman.
Yeah.
And you're kicking us off on this one.
I feel like Lego Batman is an 84. 84.
That's a very good line. Because taking the over feels way too high.
For a Lego game, right?
And taking the,
even the 84 feels a little high, but it has been getting a lot of positive, like you said.
Yeah.
Press.
Like, I don't want to go to 82. That feels low for what people have been talking about this game. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say 85. I'm going to go over.
Okay.
I think that's way too high. But again, nostalgia. I feel like this episode, like at some point we're going to talk about. I'm not using my mind enough. I'm not using my mind enough.
Yeah.
This episode. Okay. This is one that I don't know what to do. 007 First Light.
Yeah.
I actually have no idea how this is going to score. Let me just quickly check one thing before I make a prediction here. People are probably yelling. People probably have really strong opinions on how this is going to land. Okay. This is kind of where I thought. I'm just looking at like the Hitman series.
Hitman score is good, right?
As a bit of a comparator. Yeah. What's that?
It scores good, right? I don't know the numbers off.
Yeah, Hitman 2 was 83. Hitman 3 was 85.
Yeah.
And that was 85 was kind of where I was thinking. It won't show me the original. But I actually like what had popped into my head when I was looking at this was 86.
Mm.
That was kind of where I was thinking on this game.
Okay. I'm gonna go lower than this. I'm personally very interested in this game. I have been very keen to get a new entry in the Uncharted series, and this, at least the early kind of stuff, showed a little bit Uncharted like, and less, because if it leans too heavy into the Hitman style gameplay, which it doesn't sound like it is going to,
Doesn't look
that's
like it. Yeah,
that's not for me. I'm not
same.
I'm not into those games. But I'm not the biggest James Bond guy. But anyways, personally very interested. I'm not feeling the excitement around this game that maybe would have expected. So I'm gonna go 82. I'm gonna go 82.
Oh,
Yeah,
much lower. I
yeah,
didn't think you would go that low.
yeah,
Okay. I could see a world where that happens.
yeah.
From what I saw, I liked what I saw. Like there's these like long action sequences and stuff. Like it could be interesting.
Me
Could
too. I just don't
depending on
know
how they
that
pull it off.
how
Yeah,
it's gonna land with reviewers. If it's
yeah.
I would
Hard to
be
say.
completely fine if this plays like a PS3 Uncharted game. Like literally, that's what I want to play, another one of those games. And but I don't know if that's what this is first, and then if it is, or if it whatever it is, how it's going to land with reviewers. So um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And you're up next for Mina the Hollower, our last one on this list.
I'm quite high on Mina. Been very excited. I love Shovel Knight. Actually, I only really spent. I mean, I've spent a lot of time with the original Shovel Knight, but I didn't really play much of the all of the expansions and extra games and everything. I wish I actually had the Shovel Knight score in front of me, but I think it's quite high.
Let me just check that out for you right now.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's not a 90. It might be a 90.
89
89. Yeah.
for the original, for the base.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gonna go 88 for
Oh, you're
Mina.
going lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm gonna go lower than that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 86.
Okay. Still very good.
Yes, I just think some of the no, it didn't end up taking effect on Hollow Knight, but I remember there was some when we were chatting about it, potentially people being frustrated by the repeated delays, the timelines, and
Yeah.
things like that. But it's a bit different now. I do think the last couple months maybe have helped them provide some polish on the game. But there was also some people that I know that tried the demo that weren't as high on it. So I don't know if it'll hit with everybody.
Yeah.
So that's why it's only going to take a couple, you know, you can have a lot of nines, but it takes a few people to bring it down,
Yeah.
right?
A couple of PC Gamer 74 out of
Yeah,
100. Yeah.
yeah, or 4 out of 10s from someone that just doesn't like retro
That's right.
games and
That's right.
decides that they're going to tank
Yeah.
their score. So I'm being cynical now, but that's it. That's going to do it for us. That was episode 21 of Hype Factor. I want to thank you, Marcus, because that was a lot of work you put into like pulling all together all those quant data on the sequels, and I thought that was super interesting to at least validate some of what we thought, and then also bring some new perspectives into it. So that was super interesting. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So why don't you tell everyone where they can connect with you?
So the easiest way is on Blue Sky. My handle over there is Marcus O'Neill 79. And then I do two other podcasts, as I mentioned, every show. The first is Tiny Game Chronicles, where me and my good friend Michael cover a tiny game, about 5 hours or less, every other week, do a deep dive discussion on that. And then the other podcast that I do is a monthly show called BFAM, or Brothers from Another Mothership, that I do with my good friends Ron, Matt, and Quag. And yeah, we just released an episode about our favorite video game music, and
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun
It
to
was
do that
amazing.
one. Yeah.
If people haven't listened to that, they should go listen to that. I absolutely love that episode. I will say that like I was yelling also like Hades 2 took too long. What was the game that JB mentioned right at the end? I was like, how did it take so long to mention this game?
Like
Like, but
Expedition
there's a
33,
lot.
maybe? That one took
Yes,
forever.
yes, took a
Yeah.
long one for that to
Yeah.
be mentioned, but I loved like all the passion came through for all the different kind of musical impact that those games have had on everybody's lives. It was great. I
Mhm.
really liked it. So, and as for me, you can find me at John32 on Blue Sky. Also in the Fantasy Critic Discord. Also, Hype Factor is on both Blue Sky and X. Listeners can send us in comments, questions, which we're always happy to incorporate into our episodes. I know that next month is probably going to be pretty crazy with the amount of news that we're going to get. So look for some updates there from us. And I guess finally, if you've liked what you've heard so far from Marcus and I, consider giving us a positive 5-star review on your podcast player of choice. That's always much appreciated, and it helps us get out to a broader audience. Before we conclude, Marcus, anything for the greater good?
I don't know. Go add Mina if it's still available in your league. How about that?
Perfect. All right, everybody. Until next time, get hyped.
Remember, the information provided is for entertainment purposes only. Hype Factor does not guarantee the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any advice or predictions offered. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you are solely responsible for any decisions you make based on the information provided. We strongly encourage you to fantasy critic responsibly. And remember, this is just a game, and in no way impacts your status as a gamer. Hype Factor cannot be held responsible for any damages resulting from bad picks, drops, or overall Fs on your season.